I the a-hole for missing most of my daughter's wedding? After she scheduled hers the day after my stepdaughter's wedding, even though I tried to be there? My daughter has always been resentful of my stepdaughter. And growing up, we've had to deal with a lot of issues related to this resentment. The unfortunate reality was that my ex and I had shared custody. So naturally, I saw my daughter less than my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter's biological father passed away, and I've treated her like my own since she was 2. I love them both equally, and I've never shown preferential treatment towards my stepdaughter, something my daughter always accuses me of. In 2019, my stepdaughter sent out a save-the-date for her wedding for a Saturday in September. My daughter immediately called me, furious, and accusing her stepsister of deliberately planning her wedding the day before hers. My daughter sent out her own save-the-date a week later for the Sunday on that same weekend. I talked to my stepdaughter, who said it was pure coincidence, and that she doesn't even talk to my daughter after all those years of them not getting along. The issue is that my daughter's wedding was happening in another state that is 13-hour drive away, and both of them wanted me to walk them down the aisle. All of my extended family chose to attend my daughter's wedding over my stepdaughter's. I did the math, and I calculated that if I left my stepdaughter's wedding at 10 p.m. and drove through the night, I'd make it with 2 hours to freshen up and get ready. Unfortunately, I got lost along the way plus traffic, and I missed the actual wedding ceremony. My daughter's stepfather ended up walking her down the aisle by himself. I feel like I tried my best to make both my children happy, but I failed one of them completely. My stepdaughter and her husband have been attacked on Facebook by my daughter's friends who is claiming that my stepdaughter planned it on purpose. And when I tried to clear up the situation, I was completely shut down. I gave my daughter and son-in-law an additional gift of money to go to Japan, which has always been their dream. It was a lot of money, but I hoped it would be a sort of way for me to ask for forgiveness. They had to postpone their trip because of COVID, but my daughter refuses to even consider any sort of forgiveness. The few times she picks up my calls always ends with her bringing up the wedding and getting angry at me again. I was told by a few members of my family that I was the a-hole for not prioritizing my biological child's wedding and skipping my stepdaughter's wedding instead. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comment. You're the a-hole. Word of advice, Opie. The reason why she isn't satisfied is because she never wanted the money or expensive gifts. She just wanted her dad. I feel like this was a pattern for her growing up. I know it was beyond your control and you say there was no favoritism, but it probably came off that way. You're not an a-hole for trying to be there for both of them. You're the a-hole for being blind thinking you can buy her off. My first thought was to wonder why Opie didn't book a flight instead of driving 13 hours. Surely if Opie has money to splash for a holiday for his daughter, he could have booked a plane and hired a car. Opie replied in one of the comments that it'd take longer. You're the a-hole. You have 2 daughters who were engaged in planning weddings, and you were so disengaged that you didn't even know what month they were both looking at for the wedding. Were you even talking to them about it? Then, knowing that your daughter struggles with you being more present in the stepdaughter's life than hers, you prioritized the stepdaughter's reception over being sure you'd be present at your daughter's wedding. Yeah, I can see why she's upset. You can say you have good intentions, but that's not going to change the perception that she has. That you didn't care for years, and even on this day, you picked someone else. Hard to disagree. I'm wedding planning right now, and I guarantee that my parents don't know our date off the top of their heads, especially because these things change as venues and catering and such are figured out. The entire purpose of a save-the-date is to share your finalized date and location with your family and guests. Info. Was your first time hearing about these weddings the day you received the save-the-dates? Did neither of your daughters share possible dates with you beforehand? Was my daughter invited to stepdaughter's wedding? And why didn't you leave until 10 p.m.? Everyone sucks here. Your bio daughter because she didn't help any of the drama at best, and at worst purposefully caused the drama. You for thinking 2 hours is a good buffer after a 13-hour drive that you started at 10 p.m. after a wedding, you would have walked down that aisle looking like a zombie even after a shower. Rude to your daughter. For not leaving until 10 p.m. Friend's opinion or not, you did choose your stepdaughter over your bio daughter. If you expect your bio daughter to get over her bio father who was supposed to walk her down the aisle not even being there, why wouldn't you expect your stepdaughter to understand that you had to leave her party to walk your other daughter down the aisle? The way he phrased the "unfortunately stepdaughter lived with me full time, so I had more time with her," in my opinion, sounds like a justification for the same performative effort but lack of actual effort and care taken in this matter. You are at fault at least as much as her in this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my aunt to my wedding and saying she's not invited to my bridal shower? My Aunt Diane, fake name, isn't someone who's a nice person. She, my dad, and her sister, my other aunt, do not get along. They're always feuding over politics and BS. I haven't seen her in years, and she's largely been absent from my life. This summer, both my sister and I are getting married. My sister and I are in vastly different fields. I work for a software company as a designer, and my sister's becoming a doctor. We're just very different people with different interests. But for some reason, Aunt Diane always feels the need to brag about my sister on Facebook, even though she's not a part of her life either. She'll post things about how proud of her she is, how wonderful she is, and had never once felt the need to do that about me. Normally, I would just brush it off because I really don't care what she thinks. She's just a sad woman. The background behind why I don't want her at my wedding is this. I got engaged a full year before my sister. My fiancé and I have been together almost 10 years now and have just not been in a rush to get married. I didn't think twice about not getting a congratulatory comment/post from her. But when my sister got engaged a year later, she posted multiple things on Facebook about their engagement, about her fiancé, about the ring, etc. That's when I lost it. I told my parents she was under no circumstances invited to my wedding or shower. I was the one who sent the wedding invite, so I never sent one to her. I'm pretty sure my dad, her brother, just told her she wasn't invited because she couldn't come anyway. I just went to my sister's shower the other day, and my Aunt Betty told me that Aunt Diane would absolutely be attending my shower. I told her this was news to me since she wasn't invited to my wedding. My mom looked mortified and got pissed at me. I refuse to have someone attend my wedding who's made it clear she doesn't care about me. Am I the a-hole for not inviting her? Edit. Someone mentioned this and I want to clear this up. My aunt does not have a closer relationship with my sister versus me. Neither one of us has spoken to her in 20 plus years. We just happen to all be Facebook friends. She's never reached out to either of us prior to my sister starting medical school. And my aunt and I are no longer Facebook friends. Lol. Not the a-hole. You're not under any obligation to invite anyone. It's your celebration, so you get to decide who to celebrate with. Also, under no obligation to be Facebook friends with anyone you don't want to. Not the a-hole, but it might be a good idea to communicate with Diane directly and explain that she is not invited. Maybe record a conversation. I offered to reach out to her personally about this decision, and my parents told me absolutely not. I'm an adult and feel that I'm the one who owes her this explanation. I hate being fake. As you say, you're an adult. Perhaps it's time to not let your parents control how you communicate with your aunt. Tactfully respecting her parents' wishes about how to interact with her aunt isn't the parents controlling her communication. There hasn't been any escalation here on the part of the aunt. If she starts talking trash on Facebook, then it would be worth confronting her regardless of the parents' wishes. Right now, though, OP doesn't need to ring her up and say, "I'm not inviting you because blank." That would be OP escalating the situation and inviting conflict. Exactly. I'm not letting my parents control me. I'm just respecting them and not causing a blowout fight. Not the a-hole. My wife and I work in weddings, and I'm gonna tell you the same thing we tell every one of our couples. It's your day, not theirs. And if you don't want someone at your wedding, then you don't need to have them there. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for lying to my mother about keeping contact with ex-step family? Male 19. I lived alone with my mom for all my childhood. But around 11, my mom started a relationship with a dude who hated me and whom I hated. However, he had 2 daughters that came living with us, all whom I loved. Brotherly sons. Since he was a prick to me, and sadly, my mom was a prick to them, it was the world against us 3. I still got out of this home around 16 years old and went living in a college town. I supply myself 100%. Food, my college, rent, car, etc. And I'm 19 now. But I kept coming back at least every 2 weeks to see my sisters and do something with them. They're 13 and 14 today, by the way. My mom and dad's stepfather broke up in January, and my mom specifically asked me to not have any contact with any of the step family. But I couldn't abandon my sisters. I still visit them every week almost because they're my chosen family, and dad's stepfather is not the best parent. I help them in homework or online school, take them for activities. I had to help the eldest buy her first tampons and get her the pill to help menstrual cramp. In short, I try to help them. My mom found out and got really mad that I still talk to her ex in order to keep contact with my sisters, even though I've always hated him. She threatened to stop all of her financial help. I got mad and told her I'd been living without any help for the last 3 years, which is true. She got even madder and threatened to not even acknowledge me until I asked for forgiveness and stopped seeing them. I haven't talked to her for the last 2 months. She won't even respond to me. I want to have a good relationship with her, but I can't let go of my sisters. I hate her for this, but feel guilty for this at the same time. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom brought them into your family, then expects you to abandon them? Your mom is an a-hole. Thank you. Dude, you're a good man. Your sister needs you more than your mom does. Keep being there for them. So basically, your mom wanted you to play family for 8 years because she fell in love, and now she wants you to stop being family because she broke up? It doesn't work that way. It's amazing you have a good connection with your steps. Don't give it up. Not the a-hole. You disobeyed your mom's wishes. Check. But does she have any authority whatsoever over you? Nope. This is not about her. This is your life, and tell her to mind her own business. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Blood is really the smallest part of what makes someone family. There's no reason to feel guilty about maintaining your relationship with them. That's what I tend to think. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for comparing my mom and her husband to people my in-laws dislike as a way of making it clear where I stood? Confusing title, so I will explain. When I was 8, my dad died. I was the second of 4 kids. My older brother was 10, my sister was 6, and my younger brother 4. Mom married her husband 11 months after our dad died. He was a widower 14 months with 4 of his own kids, ages 11, 9, 7, and 5. The blending was done in the worst way. Met months after our parents died, moved in 11 weeks after meeting, and they were married with some family around 2 weeks after moving in together. It was pretty much said we were family now, not a blended family. He was dad, she was mom, and we were siblings. Me, my older brother, and his 3 older kids struggled. We hated the steps. We did not want to blend. We cried for our parents. Nobody got any therapy. Adoption was pushed, but thankfully mine and my brother's voices as well as the voices of his older 2 were listened to. But his 7-year-old was adopted by our mom because he was considered too young to decide. They ended up having 4 more kids together. It broke pretty spectacularly, and I don't speak to my mom or her husband, and I don't see or speak to his kids. The only reason I ever see them is because of my younger siblings, and the fact they consider him dad and are close with them. Anyway, my husband, son, and I were at my younger sister's housewarming thing. She invited my in-laws. In-laws were always aware I didn't come from a close or happy family. They knew when I didn't invite my mom to my wedding or introduced her to my son. But we were there, and I told them they were like the parents from the TLC show The Blended Bunch, just a little less twisted. My in-laws hate the show and hate the couple there, and for them, it was all they needed to know. Apparently, my mom's husband overheard and they made it a big deal, even telling my sister what I said. She told them it was no secret I didn't like them, and not to make it a big deal. But my cousin and aunt went and told me I was a witch, and I should let the past go, have a relationship with my parents, which makes me sick because he is not my parent. But I do wonder if the comment at the place and time was wrong, and maybe it makes me a bit of a prick. My older brother found it hilarious, but he shares the sentiment. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mom married another guy in less than a year. You weren't allowed proper time to mourn and lived in a literal hell. Anyone saying that you should leave the past behind should take a seat and stay quiet, especially those who have a warm and loving home with loving parents. You didn't have that privilege, so those who do can't just stay quiet. Why is it that leave the past behind folks are always the ones who mistreat you? And they never apologize. They just want you to stop being mad/hurt about their horrible actions. Then they're horrible all over again. Not today, Hall. Yes, it was the wrong place and time, but the shoe fits so well. Not today, Hall. Wow, I am so incredibly sorry you had to deal with that. I was reading this with my jaw dropped at how horribly everything was handled. Not today, Hall. This is one of the rare occasions when you're actually around your mom and her husband, and you should have been more discreet. But you didn't say it to intentionally cause conflict or drama. So for me, I think it falls in the category of honest mistake. Your cousin and aunt were out of line. They decided to create the scene, not you, and telling you to let the past go is not appropriate.